Welcome to the presentation on the case Department of Justice versus Lavabit by Eleanor Gray. Consumers are becoming more concerned about their personal sensitive information being stolen during online communications. Because of this, encrypted email communication is becoming more common, rising from 2.3% to 3.8% in only a year. An example of a safeguarded email service is Lavabit, who guarantees secure email communication utilizing encryption technology. This creates many challenges in promoting cybersecurity for law enforcement. Lavabit, owned by Ladar Levison, was considered anti-government because of its encryption methods, with a membership base of over 400,000 people who each paid $16 a year for its service. Standard Security Technology, or SST, is used by Lavabit to establish an encoded link between a server and a client, referred to as encryption. Secure Socket Layer, or SSL keys, are an example of SST, and its protocol defines algorithms to be used along with how they will be applied. Current key discovery software doesn't have the ability to find a large key because of the lack of speed and processing capabilities. This case surrounds the hunt for a highly sought-after fugitive, Edward Snowden, who executed the most substantial leak of top-secret documents in the history of the United States from the highly secretive agency, the National Security Agency, or the NSA. While working at the NSA, Snowden came across many documents portraying details regarding Federation of Secret Law, unequal pardon, and irresistible executive powers. He felt the world needed to be aware of the vast surveillance network the U.S. government was developing that would, in turn, destroy internet freedom, privacy, and liberties for all citizens. This strong belief led him to give up all he knew in order to release these documents for public review. The U.S. government believed Edward Snowden used Lavabit and therefore served Ladar Levison, the owner, a court order requiring him to allow the FBI to install surveillance equipment called a pen trap on his network, the network of his company. There is no doubt that law enforcement is in a difficult position with regard to encryption. They are responsible for safeguarding the nation's information resources, which affect national security and public safety, but at what cost? The problem occurs when that responsibility overlaps with a citizen's right to privacy, which is protected by the Fourth Amendment. The NSA, in this case, did have a warrant for capturing all communication on a specific email account using the pen trap, but they also wanted the encryption and SSL keys to decrypt it. Ladar offered to write an intercept code in order to protect the rights of the rest of Lavabit's paying customers not included in the pen trap. The NSA refused, stating they were exempt from the search and seizure portion of the Fourth Amendment due to the fact a machine would be filtering the communications. First, by giving the NSA the SSL keys, they would have access to all of Lavabit's customer communications, including IP addresses and other sensitive information. My belief is that this sort of dragnet surveillance is against the Fourth Amendment and promotes unreasonable search and seizure, since there is no probable cause against all but one of Lavabit's customer base. The Fourth Amendment protects from this kind of evasion of privacy when it can be determined that the expectation of privacy is reasonable. Lavabit's customers paid for their subscriptions to Lavabit, so I feel that this would be a reasonable expectation. Another legal dispute encompassed within this case is the topic of encryption key ownership. Whoever owns the encryption key controls the access to the data. The NSA has tried to push policy allowing for them to require a backdoor be created. Once a key is discovered, it opens up scrutiny not only on the sender but all persons they communicate with. Regulation, therefore, cannot be controlled by a warrant. Ladar felt that giving them the key to decrypt communication on the Lavabit servers was like requesting a master key that would open up all rooms within a hotel, even though they only needed access to one client room. Users of Lavabit had private encryption keys, but they were stored on Lavabit servers instead of their personal computers. This put Lavabit in a difficult position because they had the capabilities to determine the private encryption keys. Legally, if the customer keys were on their personal computers, all that Lavabit would have been have been able to give the NSA is the encrypted data, taking the responsibility out of Lavabit's hands. In my opinion, if the NSA is given the ability to gain encryption keys from their owners, it lowers the value of free speech and increases the risk of intrusion by the government. There are ethical and moral implications threaded through the legal disputes of this case. The NSA's request served to Lavabit stepped over the line of where their authority should be because all they had a legal right to through the warrant and pen trap with Snowden's communications. This was compounded by the fact that they would not agree to a level of transparency regarding their surveillance. The NSA, using tactics of secret court and loopholes, has shown it will gain access to private communications of Americans at any cost, weakening the security of the internet. I think these are unethical practices on the NSA's part that infringed on the Lavabit customer autonomy. Value of privacy plays a role in our condition of freedom and is a primary moral foundation. Without this, our autonomy is restricted, meaning we cannot make our own choices or pursue directions for our life without interference. Morally, Ladar had done nothing wrong in the way he was doing business. Based on the premise of his business design, he was not willing to betray his customers by participating in the NSA's snooping, as he felt the request would put all of his customers at risk who were not part of the investigation. The potential harm to the clients of Lavabit was significant, increasing risk to their lives and safety because it could become a weapon in the hands of people with authority. I truly feel we, as Americans, need to defend our right to privacy and impress upon government the need of appropriate selective surveillance to protect all innocent citizens. In conclusion, this case is a very complex one. There were many more legal, ethical, and moral issues than were discussed here. The bottom line is that these types of infringements on privacy threaten the presumption of innocence. This lowers Americans' trust in the very agencies that are working to keep us from harm. The cost of keeping one's online communications secure will go up, and our desire to protect ourselves from harm, economic loss, and public embarrassment will lead us to pay this price. Only when we are made aware of the risk of harm will we voluntarily succumb to intrusions like airport security checks. As long as these surveillance methods are used, however, this type of cooperation will be hard to come by, so the NSA needs to revisit how they go about their investigation. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Here are the references that I used for this presentation.